Hello guys, welcome to a new video. Today I kind of wanted to talk about why I basically quit after week 3 of the league, and kind of like what my thought process is on those, and hopefully, you know, just so you guys don't think that, you know, I am never playing again. But you know, I kind of wanted to talk about, it basically boils down to 3 different things, right? So it comes down to enjoyment factor, progression, and the content that was put into the league, right? So how much effort is put into the league really depends on what happens for the rest of the people, or what was taken out. So for enjoyment factor, you know, currency for me was actually relatively hard for the first 2 weeks to obtain. Even though I had lots of strategies that I was implementing, a lot of them that should have played out didn't end up playing out, just because that's not the way that the meta rolled out. So some of the items that I had made didn't end up selling for like much profit, or if any, for like an entire week or more. So sitting on these items with no currency to craft anything and nothing to make more money. So I was struggling for the first 2 weeks. So I was doing a lot of map progression and atlas progression, which, you know, I don't really enjoy just running through all the maps. That's not what I like to do. I like to make money. I like to run bosses. I like to do end game stuff. I don't enjoy the grind to get to that end game stuff. And by not having currency, I was not able to upgrade my characters as fast as I wanted to. And also the league start first day really was a killer, because I devoted the entire day for a 12-hour stream, which would have been one of my longest streams I've done. But because they had issues, I only ended up playing for about 9.5 hours, and really I only got to the beginning of Act 3 after those 9 hours, just because of all the disconnects and issues and rerolls and, you know, everything that came along with that. So by the end of those, you know, those 2 weeks, I'm kind of downtrodden. But then at week 3, I finally started finding a currency flip that was actually making me money, because the market kind of shifted. Because the first 2 weeks, you know, most people are building up their characters, and then third week everyone tries to, you know, do these gambles. So I was able to roll onto that, and we made about 75x in about a week. And probably could have made more, but, you know, I didn't really play for a couple days in the middle there. But we ended up making about 75x in about 4 or 5 days of playing, which is pretty dang good, starting out with only 2x as our starting budget. So making that much money in a week is very, very good. But, you know, by the end of that week, you know, I'm kind of burned out, right? So I've done all this trading to get this currency, but then I'm like, you know, I don't really want to reroll a new character. So kind of like, you know, out of the toast. So I kind of went like into, like, the second point is like into progression, right? So the progression is really kind of something that's important to feel like you are progressing your character and doing the best you can. I kind of mentioned it in the first one in the enjoyment factor, but, you know, I feel like the progression of this league was lackluster. It just wasn't there. I didn't have that, you know, burning desire to progress my character the way I wanted to. And that was because, you know, we lost some major content that helped us progress quicker to be able to get to do end game content and to create more characters and be able to get them to end game content. Not being able to get into those through, for instance, harvest crafting, which they basically nerfed to the ground, really kind of hurt our progression, as well as our ability to create new characters and to have our new characters be able to do anything. So I only created 1 character this league, which is very unusual for me. Usually I'll create like 3 or 4 characters, and then usually a couple for like a league start scenario, but I just didn't have that desire to go through the 10x again, mainly because of day 1. I didn't want to have to deal with that again, even though I know that everything was fixed. I didn't want, you know, it's like still like, you know, this burning engraved into my mind of how horrible day 1 was. And one thing that I am actually very disappointed about day 1 is the fact that they did not give any compensation. They didn't give out. They had mystery boxes that came out like a day or 2 later, and they should have given everyone that played on day 1 or tried to play on day 1 a mystery box. That would have made people so much happier, right? Instead, they just said, "Our bad, Have fun. It's like, so you have 12 hours of the worst league start you've ever had, and you give nothing for it. That says a lot about the company. I mean, I love GGG. I really do. I really like this game. You know, I've been playing it. I played back in beta before it was even live for everyone else, and then I came back about a year, just a little over a year ago, and have been playing constantly since then. So, you know, it's not like I have not played this game for a while, and I really do enjoy it. But there are certain things that are like, why did you do this when this is clearly not what the player base wants? Or, you know, you made the entire client base of your company angry at you. So you gotta like give them something back, right? They didn't do that. So I'm a little saddened about that. So, you know, the number 3 is content, right? So the content that they introduced into this league was more than underwhelming. It was frankly disappointing. Like I said in my previous videos before the league even came out, I said this looks exactly like Ritual, and it turns out it's exactly like Ritual, except you don't get to choose your rewards at the end, and you cannot re-roll. You basically are given a set choice on what this item is going to be, and that's what it will be. So you can see what you're gonna get, I guess, but you don't get to choose. There's no choice in this at all. It's completely random. And then in the, you know, before the league came out, they said every time you do it, the next item will be better than the previous. I don't know in right mind that one Exalted Orb is less than a tier 8 armor. Because you get 1x, and then your next item is like everything is like tier 5, 6, 7, or 8 armor with like 50 life and like 14 reses on it. And I'm like, that's better than an X. So, I mean, they blatantly lied to everyone, which is bad. And the whole point of going through all these ultimatums is to get the better stuff at the end, right? Well, it turns out that you can do the first 3 or 4 and get the same amount of loot as you would for the last 4, and you have to spend half as much time to get them. So I was very disappointed about that. And they basically, like, also they said we want to lower the loot explosions, like the, you know, all the loot that is on there. And then they come out with Ultimatum, like, which has a huge loot explosion after each ultimatum, and you're like, so they say one thing and they do another, and I'm just not happy. This league. Also with content and the Trail Master. I mean, the Trail Master was one of those things that like should be there to, you know, make you want to do it, make you want to go farther, make you like encourage you to do better, and whatnot. But instead, every single time you go to the Trail Master, even if you complete it all the way, he taunts you. So going into every single map and you get close to him, he's like, oh, well, you only did 3, maybe you'll do better this time, or you'll never complete this next one. Or, you know, it's like, it's always degrading. He's degrading you every single map, and when you're running hundreds of maps, it's just so wears on you, man. Like, you need to have something that encourages you to play the game. Instead, every single area you go into, you're getting discouraged by an NPC. It seems silly, but it gets to you after you do 100 or 200 maps. Like, him always berating you with taunts, and it's just downtrodden. So a game should be uplifting and bringing you in, wanting you to do more, instead of, you know, bringing you down and saying you're horrible because you only did 2 or 3 because you got one shot by an invisible bomb. Okay, I know they're working on the streaming of, you know, these stuff, but it's horrible. They should have left it the same way it was. This whole streaming textures is a horrible thing that they implemented. I'm glad they're finally making a new change. They said they were going to push it off to the next league, but then they said it's so bad we're going to try to push it in to this week, or if not, you know, next week or something like that. But it's still an issue. Like, I've gone into many ultimatums where no monsters spawned at all. 0 monsters. I cannot see anything. There's nothing. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know where anything is. And you start running around and all of a sudden you get killed because you ran into a big pack of monsters and they surrounded you and you got stuck. Or for instance, I've had, you know, the flame balls that explode on you. I had 3 of them go off. I could hear them. I heard them, but I had no idea where they were. And I assumed, you know, they kind of went off, and then all of a sudden, like, the ultimatum ended, and a second after the ultimatum ended, they blew up on top of me because I'm running around in circles. So they ended up chasing me for like 20 seconds, and then the ultimatum ended, everything exploded, and I stopped to pick up the stuff, and boom, I died to 2 explosions that were completely invisible. Okay, this is not a single occurrence. This happened many times, and I don't have the best computer, but I also don't have a crappy computer. Like, these are things that really should not be happening, and they should have realized that they screwed up and reverted back to the old method right when they realized it. Instead, they let it go on for, you know, last league, and this league was probably the worst of it. And it's just, you know, disheartening about the way that they are putting things out. Yes, I understand the design. I understand how long it takes to get things implemented and the testing phase of everything, and they can't test every type of computer out there. But when you have a 90% population base that is playing the game that is having issues, if not more, you really should, you know, probably revert back to the way it actually, you know, was working before. Just, you know, that's good ethics. It's better to roll something back than to leave something crappy. So, you know, it's like those 3 things, you know, enjoyment factor, progression, the content that they took in, like, you know, those are the main things that they did that really kind of hurt. Another thing that really hurt, more towards the content side as well, is that they, you know, nerfed like so many things that were people enjoyed playing, so much that basically made it not enjoyable to play them anymore. And they didn't really bring anything up per se that replaced it, right? So this previous like league patch notes were basically mostly nerfs. Instead of like a 50-50, you know, where like 50 things bad, here's, you know, 50 things that we're gonna, you know, make better for your character, you know, characters. They basically said, we're gonna nerf 80% of the characters and give like a 20% boost in some characters that people never played anyways, and then we're gonna offset the other 30% to make it 50% with we're changing the way that previous leagues are giving you content, but we're still crapping on all of your characters. Oh, and to make them even worse, we're taking away any type of, you know, harvest that would make your characters viable. So basically any character that you wanted to create that could have been fun, that you basically had to use Harvest Craft to make them viable to be able to play, we're basically saying those characters are no longer viable anymore because you can't craft your items with Harvest Crafting the same way you used to be able to do. And you can't really min-max very easily unless you have a crap ton of money, which, you know, the common player only gets like 15x a league. And that's how much it costs to craft like one item in most cases. And that's not even a full craft, that's like a half craft, right? So it's like, I mean, they changed all these things. It's just, I'm very sad that it happened this way. I really hope that next league is better. I still might jump on towards the last month of the league just to, you know, maybe create a new character and start something new once they kind of settle these streaming textures out. But basically, you know, I really am kind of, you know, disheartened by this league. So I really hope that next league is much better, and hopefully maybe by the end of this league, we'll start back up. We'll start like a league start type of character. We'll try to create like a new type of character, and hopefully be able to get, you know, through the content of the acts and go from there. But you know, I'm kind of just burned out from, you know, having 2 weeks of horrible not being able to progress our characters too much because we don't have any currency, and the fact that, you know, all of week 3 we spent just, you know, making currency, but then we were too like burned out to do anything else. So, you know, I still do enjoy the game. I still encourage people to play this game, but you do, like I said in previous videos, this game is not for people who are, you know, beginning players, who have never played this game before. You really need someone that can kind of guide you how to do this, because this game is very difficult, very complicated, and if you don't, you're just gonna be burned out after the first 2 days. So I have some videos up, check them out, and hopefully this will help you, you know, understand why I haven't really been playing for the past, you know, week or so, and I am sorry if I've let any of you guys down, but you know, this is how I feel, this is how I am, and I just, you know, have to explain it for you guys sometimes so that you understand why I am doing this. And you know, I appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much for joining me over the past year for all this content that I have put out for you guys. Hopefully that the previous content has been helpful for you. I think the most helpful content that I put out is probably the currency flipping method, which is right over here. Well, actually it's over here because of where I am on my camera here, so it'll be right here for you, and feel free to check it out. It will help you to make money. It's just you have to find which currency works best for you. Currently at this current time in week 4, ancient orbs I believe are doing probably one of the best at about 10 to 12% for you know, prophecy margins. So I encourage you to flip those. Also divine orbs tend to be pretty good as well, and until next time guys, thank you for joining me, and peace out.